going back to, the history of 30 plus years, whatever it is now, P.O.D.
Hmm.
And, kind of the height of your guys' popularity being one of the biggest bands globally, everything like that, kind of plays into the sports here because you had, these big songs in the early 2000s, specifically Boom, getting played
Hmm.
everywhere in every sports arena, every sports stadium. I guess like I don't have like a specific question there, except for like as you felt that and went through that to today. What have you seen? Do you still see like residual checks? I mean, are they still playing Boom and Alive and all these songs in these arenas? Do you still get a
Yeah,
lot of reception from that?
yeah, yeah. I don't know about residual checks because the system has figured out some way to not pay the musicians for their music. So
Figured out. I mean, that's true. That's true. Actually, you're right. Right. It's got especially
yeah, so
especially when it was songs written and played back in the early 2000s. It's not like you were on a bigger label too. They're taking a big cut there, right?
oh yeah. But I mean, just it's just where the industry's at right now, trying to figure out publishing and copyright, with streaming and stuff. They're just trying to figure out and I mean, at least I hope they're trying to figure out how to pay these artists because we're not getting paid for our music. You know what I mean? So I don't. That's a tangent. I don't want to get up on that. But to go
Yeah.
back to what you said, I think for us, it was a shock to us as it was everybody else. All of a sudden, because it wasn't like we were writing songs for ESPN or what I mean for sports. It was just like we're just making music, and so all of a sudden, when it's like, oh, dude, we're hearing boom, at every type of sport,
Right.
from UFC to baseball, football, basketball. Even now, I still get watching football games, and you'll hear it at least in the stadium playing, or someone will text me and say, "Hey, I just was watching the game and I heard a live or whatever," and it's like it's still cool, it's still exciting. You know what I mean? Aside from aside from the money issues, it's still the fact that they're using our music to hype people up and get people excited. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, you said you guys weren't writing songs specifically for that. Obviously.
Yeah.
So was that something that just came from the label putting it out, or was there any kind of organic way that you heard of it of those songs getting put in the stadiums and shit?
I mean, I'd like to think that labels are so useful that they can actually do that, and some do. You know what I mean? Because it's marketing and promotion. But a
Right.
lot of times, when back in the day when you did have publishing companies, or and if they gave you any type of advance, they were trying to recoup their money, and if that was their specialties, I mean, you could still do it now. It just depends on where you're at with your music. It's like you're giving it to somebody to get product placement. You know what I mean? And but it gets harder and harder today with all the different streaming, and like I said, with the music everywhere now. We don't necessarily have the control. I mean, there's still ways that, like, if it's different, they can play it at a stadium while you're at a live game. That doesn't matter. But if all of a sudden I'm watching a commercial with the Raiders and they have boom, I'm gonna be calling my manager and be like,
Of
hey,
course.
what did
Dude, I don't remember approving that.
I mean, which is, hey, I would. I mean, whatever. Raiders pay good money. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but nowadays, it's like, how do you even check all of that stuff? And it's so loosey goosey with all that paperwork nowadays. And sometimes we've done stuff with WWE, and because WWE is so huge, they're and so powerful of an empire, even back then, that they can say, can we use your music? Yes. Okay, we're not gonna pay you for it, but because we're WWE, you're gonna get so much press, and you know what I mean, and get so much hype, and at some point you're like, dang, okay,
Yeah.
I guess so. You know what I mean? And because even now, when I still hear when Ray comes out, Ray Mysterio at WrestleMania a couple weeks ago, you're
Yeah.
like, dude, they're still playing our jam. Big shout out to Mad One. It's like they're still playing our tune, but we ain't seeing none of that. So it's a game, bro. It's a
Yeah.
game.
Well, I mean, yeah, and to your point though, like there is that business side of it too. Like you,
Yeah,
you also have to weigh out the options there too. Like, do you take the money when it's still not a lot per spin and stuff like
yeah,
that? Like, or do you just look at it as self-promotion, and a lot of times you will make that decision, like
Yeah. Yeah.
no, like we did it with video games, and we've had a few songs that have gotten played in arenas and stuff like that, in stadiums
Yeah.
and sports stadiums, and yeah, like you get a publishing thing, but once it comes down the pipe and split it 5 ways and everything like that, it's like I'd rather just take the promotion anyway, you know what I mean?